Good evening, curious people of the internet. This is Skidata speaking. Welcome back to my Entrepreneur's Kitchen. Tonight, I have a very special guest, a very good friend, and she actually lives just a stunned throw. Do you say that actually in English? What? She just lives a couple of blocks away from where I live. A very, very good friend, Belkis Etz, the Global Vice President of Human Resources at Skidata. Hello, Belkis.
Hello, Seda. Nice for having me.
Oh, thank you for joining. And it's too bad that we can't be in the same room, but this is okay too.
In these times, definitely.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for joining, because I know that there's a lot to do right now, especially in the HR realm. So before going on into our detailed discussion about, the world in a crisis situation, entrepreneurship in a crisis situation, I want to talk about something that's not a crisis situation, which is food. So what are you preparing for us, Belkis?
Well, I don't know whether food is not a crisis situation. Cooking is a crisis situation for me. So I thought, is it good or bad for me? Just 3 ingredients. But well, I decided to I decided to do something I'm better in, and this is cold food. And I decided to do a Obersten. It's a kind of Bavarian cheese beer garden food.
Yeah.
So yes, that's basically, and I thought of, okay, first you should do what you're good at. So I'm better in cold food than in hot food. Second, I decided for something, I have some positive emotion, something I love, because I lived in Munich for many years, and this is kind of, reminding me on these times. Yeah. And third, I had a look in my fridge, and what I always have is cheese, because I'm a cheese lover.
That's very important,
okay, yes. Take what you have. It's only 3, and make the best out of it.
Excellent. So what do you put in an Obersten?
Well, basically you put in camembert, butter, onion, and you can, but I have nothing at home, and basically it's only 3, but you can do some cheese, how do you say, cottage cheese type of.
Okay, like fresh cottage
fresh cheese.
That's cool.
And salt and pepper.
And you're done. And then you can use it as a spread.
Exactly. Put it on a plate.
Exactly. Put it on a pretzel, and then suddenly the sun is shining again, like in the Bavarian.
Hopefully. Let's see where we are at the end.
Absolutely. I'm really hoping that until Sunday things when we do our girls' evening. Well, yes. Let's go back to business. But before that, I'm going to tell also what I'm doing tonight.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a bee on it's called bee's knees. Which is a gin sour. Exactly, which is a cocktail with some gin. So you take some gin,
yes,
juice of a lemon, depending on how sour you would like to have it, and then I'm going to prepare some honey syrup, which is just some honey with a little bit of a water, and then you warm it up, and then you cool it down, and then put everything into a shaker with some ice.
Wow.
And voila. Wow. Yes, exactly. It's a very, very good drink. So
it's like,
yes, so we kind of do and talk as we go. And before we start, I would like people to know that if you guys have any questions to Belkis on the global HR landscape, you can go ahead and use slido.com or slide.do. Our event code is 93150. So if you guys have any questions, we're looking forward to hearing from you. Belkis, so what is the most crazy crisis in the HR world during the Corona time now?
Well, to be very honest, I think it is, handling the business impact and the people side. That means, how do you cope with furloughs, this kind of short-time work, how do you, so I think that is, and then that definitely also, hits people, because that is coming back to you, to a person's personal situation, stability, from an emotional point of view, from a financial point of view, and trying to manage it, in a very good balance, to balance business and people. I think that is really the toughest part of the crisis we currently have. And of course, you try to be honest and transparent to people, but honestly, no one, we all don't know how this will end. So that's definitely the biggest challenge. And that there's not a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
So it's also time pressure. But yeah, so that is what me and my team, we are really occupied most with currently.
Yeah. How many people are you responsible for?
Well, we have worldwide roughly between 1,500 and 1,600 people.
Yeah, it's a lot of them.
Yeah. That's the overall staff base. But I have a direct responsibility for the Austrian side, and then the global guiding responsibility for all staff and people topics worldwide.
Yeah, I mean, 300-400 people only in Austria, a couple of thousand within the world. It's a lot of responsibility, of course, and it's not only the people who work there immediately, but also, the supply chains and the families, and so it has a lot of backlash of impact. But can you actually ever prepare for a crisis like this?
Well, I don't think so completely. So I think somehow, yes, you can, think about in the terms of risk management, think, okay, what are you going to do when a key risk happens? But basically, when it hits you, then I think it comes back to how flexible you are, how resilient you are as a person and as an organization, and how you manage through it. So I think somehow in terms of resilience, somehow you can prepare, but not that you have this action plan, like I don't think so.
And also, I mean, people react not logically, right? When these things hit, then as you just said, you're under so much pressure, and everybody is looking at you to make a decision. And you're like, okay, let's try this.
And that's really, and this is what I said, what the time really, learned me again is be flexible and think from day to day and not from week or month or year.
Yeah.
But really, go step by step, be flexible and try to respond, and also, try to manage it in a way that you can't provide stability to the people. But you can manage it in a way that you do the best you can, and try to, I think, build trust.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
I definitely want to talk about the trust aspect a little bit more, but I'm also wondering, because you have a background in finance, you have done so many different things. You were at Philip Morris before, really in cash management and things like that. So how do you see those positions prepared you for a crisis like this in a position of an HR vice president?
Well, definitely. So I'm convinced that helps, and I'm convinced that this typical chimney career in HR is not a good career to pursue. It is helpful if you have been out in the business, or if you move in between out to the business, because otherwise, you know, you only understand the HR part, but you don't really understand so many other things that are going on. And as an HR, you kind of a service function, you know, and you need to understand this world. So I think that's a general, really, for me, thing. And definitely, you know, what helped me kind of, you know, I'm coming from the risk management side, and that helps me a little bit now, because
and now you did risk management particularly,
risk
right?
Management.
Exactly.
So, you know, you are kind of always thinking, okay, what is the risk? What is the cause of the risk? You know, how can you mitigate risk? And just having this, now it's a long time ago that I did it, and but
once it's like bicycle.
It's kind of it somehow, you know, it characterizes your mind state, and also I think really always you need to balance the as I said, you need to balance business and people. I think that is at least my vision or my mission in HR. What I always say, you know, create value by putting people in the heart of the business. But it's always people and business. And definitely, if you have some background in risk management and in finance, helps you to understand. It of course helps you also. You can imagine that also, you know, we do a lot of analysis and reporting stuff. That of course also helps you if you have some.
Well, would you say actually? No, I mean, when we look into this, the heart of this crisis for a lot of big companies, I mean, it was kind of clear that, you know, if you had poor cash management, if you already had struggles in business, that you would be hit much harder than some established, you know, world players. One of which is, of course, also Skidata. But how do you see that understanding how to deal with liquidity and cash actually has an impact in the health of a business for a long term? Because when we look at these big companies, I'm wondering how can they not be able to survive even under these new circumstances with the German Kurzarbeit and, you know, everything, not even a couple of months.
Yeah. And that's a very good question. I think if we learn something, it's not about, I think, you know, so often it is profit, which is the main target you're heading for, or it's growth and it's sales and then it's profit, and that's what you are measured for very often as a company. But that's not always in line with cash. And I also saw it in our company, you know, if you have growth, profit and cash as a target, that's kind of contradicting. So, you know, if you grow, most times you need cash. If profitability is the main target, it just draws focus more to that. So I think that is a topic. And you know, we did not really face a situation like this for many years as a society. So somehow I guess, you know, it lost a little bit in priority, and now we see how important it is. And that's always what our CFO says, guys, profit is not the important one now, cash.
Which is a very healthy. So it's funny that you say your CFO said this, because when I prepared this question, my endpoint was actually, do you think that we need some sort of a CFO mentality in every person we hire now?
At least I think we need some, you know, sense of business and numbers, you know. So how, you know, how is the thing I'm doing, you know, impacting numbers, which is of course easier when you're in sales, because that's so obvious, and the more you are in a back office function, the less transparent it gets, or the less direct link you have.
Yeah.
But that is really important from a business, understanding business is understanding also the main part of financials. So,
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
I think I don't think you need a lot of CFOs, because if you're really CFO, it's another type of thing. But understanding numbers and the basics is key. Yeah. So now I lost you.
Belkis, stay on the line.
Hey, hi.
You're back.
Sorry.
I just wanted to write
sorry.
you.
You know what happened? Not kidding. Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Yes. Wait.
Yes, you're back.
I'm back. So, ate the cable. Did you hear that?
Huh?
Okay.
But somehow, I have you kind of.
Our dog ate the cable. Chopped. Okay, wait. Is not good. Okay, wait. To we should be. I think we should be fine now. Are we fine now?
Yes.
Yay!
You're back.
Excellent. Perfect. Well, I'm so sorry, but our dog, the little dog, he just ate the cable, the internet cable. I'm very sorry for that. Yeah, but the dog is just way too cute to be, thrown out of the window. So
that's real life.
Sorry. Yeah, kids were in bed, but dog. Well, so what I was asking you is how this crisis is going to change the strategy for hiring, in your opinion, in the future. What kinds of people, what kinds of job profiles will be interesting?
Well, so I think job profiles will not change. The basic job profile will not change so much, but I think really looking to the ability or the resilience, people have, the basic mindset on how they cope with stress and uncertainty. That is something that will be more relevant. And the other thing is also, I think what we have seen now is what I say, this growth mindset, that learning mindset, also this flexible mindset of, being able to quickly adapt to a changing situation and willing to learn in that. So these are two things from what I see now, what will take away, and for sure, what we talked before, this basic understanding of finance, which is definitely, something, this basic understanding of business, and how that works is something that is important to have an eye on. But so that that is what I'm taking away immediately out of the situation. There might also pop up other things as we are right in the
right still in the quick practice. Yeah.
It's a lot of digital skills we require, which we as a tech company, we have a kind of luxury that we have a lot of them already. But I think this is obvious that will be. I think we knew that, or we talked about it already in the past, but now it became obvious.
Absolutely. But when we think about these skills around resilience, these skills around adaptability, flexibility of mind, eagerness to learn, eagerness to change, none of these things you learn in school. So where do people learn these things? What are we going to do?
Well, our school system is not always pushing really, that learning is fun.
Well,
I think, so the one thing is something that is somehow set in a very, okay, cheers.
Cheers.
Wine, I'm still preparing. So the one thing is a basic mindset, which you most probably, you can get from your parents or from your time as a kid or your surrounding. And the other thing is, for me, a key point on how you learn is learning by experience and the ability to reflect. So I think that is you don't, the most things in your life, or the important thing you learn by making an experience and the ability then also to reflect on it. I think that is that's it, and some good mentors around you that give you some awareness towards these things. So I think that is school system. Unfortunately, it depends very much on the school and on the teacher, but the basic structure of the school system, at least in our geography, doesn't make learning fun. Huh?
Yeah, it looks like lots of reproduction of knowledge, although knowledge is of course one of the most important assets in our society. But still, you want to be able to create something out of that knowledge, and for that you need skills like also imagination, foresight, all of those things we know at the Mindshift that are practicable. You can learn them. It just requires a different kind of approach, which is not necessarily always so much welcomed. Yeah, go ahead.
No, but it's also, at least that is for me, and I think learning is something that is very personal. But for me, it is also so much, if inspiration. If you have inspiring people around you, or if you see something, hear something, and this also creates this curiosity and this that is for me. That this is why I said which kind of mentor, which kind of people you have around you, and then of course how open you are to that. So that's really for me, and I think it's also in your group.
Absolutely. I mean, you just mentioned yourself one approach, one important ingredient of all of this to make all of this work is trust. Right? Yes. You have to create an environment where trust is at least possible. That people don't kind of go back behind each other's backs and things like that. But we were right before the before we live started, we were talking about also a new kind of working, this new norm of work being the remote type of work. And that kind of work is based a lot around trust. So how do how was it before the crisis and how is it changing in the future? Is Skidata going to close all sorts of real estate, rental deals, or will they just continue?
This would be now, the pure CFO.
Exactly.
You balance people work and
exactly. I mean, do we still need offices, for instance, or maybe for some people yes, and for others less?
I think, and that's a very good question. And my personal opinion is, yes, I think we need still offices, but I think, the role of the office will change. And somehow I was talking today with my team and, is there a competition between this virtual world and this physical world, and how much will all the technology companies push into the virtual things and the ability of working, and how much will architecture? But I think the office space somehow needs to kind of a refinement, because you need, if you go to the office and you sit in your single space office and you do Teams meetings the whole day, then no reason to go there. But for me, the office is this social gathering, where you have this informal communication, where you also have this face-to-face. And I still think we are humans, and we resonate more if you see the complete person and the body language, and for some kind of work. And so I think I don't want to talk about competition. I would like to rather talk about the symbiosis of work and office space, where you, depending on the type of work you do, and of course also a little bit depending on, are you more an introvert, an extrovert? You either you are in this home office or anywhere, mobile, because home office or wherever, and in the office space where we really meet people. And I think for creative processes, that was at least my experience now, that creative processes are faster if you are face to face.
That's very interesting. So it looks like you need collaborators, you need partners in crime, so to speak. When you're in a creative process.
That's and so I think, yes, we will still have offices. Might be that they get smaller, but the role of the office will change, and so also the layout of an office needs to change, and the flexibility, this work from anywhere, and depending on what you do, work from here or there. So I think that will be somehow a picture of the future.
What are some of the like really mundane concerns around remote work?
Concerns, I don't know whether it's a concern, but I think there's one thing that is really important, and we have not yet found a way really to set that up. This is this sense of belonging, this connection, as I said, this informal connection also with people and with an organization. And I think that is one thing. I don't think so much anymore, but now I speak for Skidata, because we have a kind of a trust culture for many years already. So for us, this trust thing as a company is not such a big hurdle we need to overcome. But this, that you don't lose connection to the overall organization. And I don't know, I don't know whether this is a breaking point, but for the time being, what I recognized is we all moved into the home office overnight, and it worked out really quite well. But somehow, we took our old style of working and moved it into the virtual world. And now we see the limits, when you need to change how you do things. And so this is also, this kind of belonging. There might be ways, how you create that in a purely virtual setup.
That's very interesting.
Still learning.
Well, one word you used quite often was trust, and the other word you use very often is learning.
Yeah.
Well, so I know, because I know you, that you are a lifelong learner. So you started to take lessons, and you wanted to kind of more or less go back to school and learn some skills. So what are those? Let's talk about them very briefly.
What I'm currently doing.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. I'm a lifelong learner, or I'm always curious, to learn new things. So currently, I'm doing two things. The one is set on pause due to COVID. Mm. But the one is that's a short course on digital leadership, new work, and these topics, because that is really something that that hits me. Mm-hmm. And the other thing, and that is the more intense one, is a coaching education. So learning to become a coach. And that is, why do I say it's the more intense one? Because for me, this is something you don't learn with your brain. So it's not cognitive. Mm-hmm. It is craftsmanship.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to do it. You need to make, all your failures. You need to stay on it, and you need to learn it. So this is why I said this is really the more intense one.
Awesome.
But it's really cool, and so and you as a leader, you're very often this type of person where you think you need to be this kind of consultant or mentor to people, mm-hmm. So help them and give them advice. And as a coach, this is a complete no-go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That is my biggest mindset change.
Well, welcome to my world. And also, thank you so much for joining the Entrepreneur's Kitchen, because this was really, really a delightful conversation. Sorry for the dog part. Now is the joke part.
Oh. So as I told you, I'm bad in jokes, and there was one thing that came in my mind immediately, which is an HR community joke. I don't know, but something very recent, and that is, there's a candidate interviewed by a recruiter. And the recruiter asks, why, there is a gap in your CV in 2020. So what did you do? And he says, well, I was washing my hands.
Very good. My joke, I learned yesterday from a very dear friend. A guy is about to die and calls his grandson to give him the family glass. The holy family glass. And he says, son, here is the family glass. This is going to be yours now. But remember, always drink at this side. Never drink at this side. And he says, well, grandfather, why is it so? Well, because if you drink it here, it's all good. If you drink it here,
it's all lost.
Well, Belkis, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. Please stay in the line.
I will.
I'm going to say good night to the people of the internet. Thank you so much for joining our stream. Belkis is going to be done at some time with her batsta, and we are going to go and eat it on Sunday. And in the meantime, please tune in. We are doing some of the some repeat broadcasts, some of our highlight shows. and you can enjoy them on the internet every night. We're looking forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, comments, or anything you just want to tell us, please do so. Looking forward to seeing you next week. In the meantime, tune in to our repeat shows. Have a good